Good morning. I hope everybody is doing well this morning. I'm Chad Shepard, and I teach the adult Sunday school class at Topside Church of God. For the next few weeks, the service will not be held in the sanctuary. It'll be online only, as the virus numbers have spiked, and we've even lost a great man of God, Pastor Andre's brother-in-law, Bishop Ernie Varner. Um, please continue to pray for his wife, Angelia, and for the Varner family, and for Sixth Avenue Church of God, where Ernie pastored. Um, COVID-19 hit, and it went fast. Um, but please pray. Please pray for that family. This morning, um, I want to share just a little bit and talk to you this morning about the days of Noah. I feel like this is very pertinent to the social and political and moral climate of where things are right now in the world. So, in the book of Matthew, chapter 24, Jesus talks all about the types of events that will escalate in the world as the time draws near for his return. He describes escalations in strife and in famines and in pestilence. We're seeing all these things. Uh, Not only are these things more and more commonplace, but they're becoming more and more intense as each day passes. Matthew 24 and 8 calls these events sorrows. But the original Greek word that was translated into sorrows is odin, which literally means birth pains. And of course, if you know anything about the labor pains when a woman is about to give birth, then you know that those pains get more and more intense, and they get closer and closer together as as we get closer to the time for the baby to be born. So these events, the strife, the famines, the pestilence, these are the birth pains for the return of Christ. But what's all this have to do with the days of Noah? Most of the people that I knew, or that I know, got to learn about Noah in Sunday school when they were kids. I did. I remember. We got to color pictures of the animals and the ark. When I was a kid, the teacher had this thing called a felt board. I don't even know if they make those anymore, but it was like a chalkboard covered with felt, and the teacher had these clingy paper cutouts of Bible characters and animals and stuff, and they would use these to tell the stories. They'd put a big picture of a boat on the felt board, and it would just stick, and then they'd put little cutouts of the animals, and I mean, it was this huge thing when you were a kid. I mean, it was a blast. It was exciting. It was fun. And then at the end, the teacher would talk about God's promise never to destroy the world by a flood again. And God showed the rainbow as the symbol of this covenant that He made. And then we got to color rainbows. It was cool. But in Luke 17 and in Matthew 24, when Jesus is discussing his return, he brings up the days of Noah. Listen to this from Matthew chapter 24, when Jesus is talking about his return. And this is from the New King James Version that I'm reading from here. Starting at verse 36, it says, "But of that day and hour no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, but my Father only." This is Jesus talking. "But as the days of Noah were, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. For as it in the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered the ark, and did not know until the flood came and took them all away. So also will the coming of the Son of Man be. Then 2 men will be walking in the field, one will be taken and the other left. 2 women will be grinding at the mill, one will be taken and the other left. Watch therefore, for you do not know what hour your Lord is coming." And he repeats this in verse 44, "Therefore you also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect." So Jesus says that his return will happen during a time that's like it was in the days of Noah. And he describes people going about their business like everything's normal, eating, drinking, marrying, just carrying on their lives. But that doesn't really set the day of his return apart from any other normal day in history that I can think of. So I'm wondering what is special about why would he say this about the days of Noah? How is this different than, you know, some other time? So I took another look at the scriptures in Genesis about the days of Noah, and what I found explains a lot. Genesis chapter 6, starting at verse 5, it says, "Then the Lord saw the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And the Lord was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart." Ouch. And this is right before where God decides, oh, you know what? I'm going to use a flood. I'm just going to wash it all away. Thankfully, Noah got favor with God. But this is really heavy. The Lord was sorry that he had even made man on the earth. The thing that bothers me is that not only this is really heavy, this is very familiar. Think about the way that people are right now. There are entirely too many people whose focus in life is on how they can push forward some anti-family agenda or anti-morality agenda or anti-God agenda. Their minds are constantly at work how to undermine the things that are right and good in the world, literally. And what it says about the days of Noah, God looked at man and saw, quote, that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. You know, for many of these people whose minds are in that place, it's not good enough that evil and perversion are allowed. We also have to accept it and act like it's normal. It's not good enough for everybody to want justice for people who are wronged. We also have to be a part of this particular movement, or else we're just horrible people. If we don't go along with their version of reality, line by line by line, then they just want to destroy everything that we are. And truth, I've never seen such a brazen, full-on assault against facts and against truth and against anybody who dares to point to the truth. If you say something that's true and it goes against, their certain versions of reality, man, you just made yourself a target. But thankfully, there is something that we can do. There is something that we can do. You see, many of the people whose mindsets have fallen into this dark place are under a grave deception. And I believe it's a supernatural thing. I call it the prime lie principle. I could actually spend an entire lesson talking about my thoughts and how I came to that. But what it is if someone believes one thing that they absolutely know in their hearts is not true, but they take it and they accept it and they believe it, then it opens them up to believe whatever lies and deception that the devil wants to fill their mind with. And because this is a supernatural condition, you cannot reason them out of it. You cannot convince them out of it unless God gives you the words. Unless your words are directed and anointed by God himself, and that makes them supernatural, then nothing that you say is going to change what they believe. So here's what we do. We pray. We get a hold of God like we have never gotten a hold of him before. We pray and we fast and we spend time alone talking to him. We set time aside and we get alone with God and we say, God, look at this. If we know somebody who believes in this stuff, that's absolutely contrary to what is right and what is good and what is true and what is common sense, then we pray that God will pierce through that veil of deception to deliver them from that supernatural hold that the devil has on them. And until they are free, we pray that God will hinder any effort that they make to spread the deception or to hurt good people. We want God to put a stop to that. Even if it means he has to take away their resources, take away their ability to spread these deceptions, take away their ability to hurt people. But we want him to save them. We want him to get through to them. And we also need to pray about the people who are at the top, who are pushing these agendas. Believe it or not, there are some people behind this, some people at the top of this, who are not deceived. And they're trying to destroy all that is good on purpose. Who could possibly say that they are good when they're paying to have pallets of bricks delivered where protesters are going to be? My Bible says in Proverbs chapter 6 that God hates those who sow discord among the brethren. Now hate's a really strong word. My prayer for these people is that God will give them every opportunity to see the truth and to accept it with a repentant heart. That's what I want to see happen. But that in the meantime, that God will take away all of the resources that they're using against him and against his people, and that he will deal with them as he chooses. And we cannot forget that there is a spiritual aspect to all of this. Revelation 12:4 tells us that a third of God's angels followed Lucifer when he fell. And Hebrews 12:22 says that the angels of God are innumerable. What's a third of innumerable? My math's a little bit rusty. My point is that we can't ignore that there are spirits involved in all this, and we need to be praying that God's hand will be against them as well. Jesus is the captain of the host of the armies of heaven, and my prayer is that he will send his most formidable angel warriors to cripple and crush the demon spirits involved in all this mess. In closing, I want to draw attention back to this. Jesus said that his return would come at a time that is like the days of Noah. Noah preached to the people for 100 years while he was building the ark. That's how long it took him to build it. And the whole time he preached to the people that a flood was coming and that they better do something, get things right, or they're going to be all washed away and destroyed. I have no doubt that on the day that the flood came, before it came, some 99-year-old came up to Noah and said, "Noah, I've been hearing this all my life. Why should I believe that this flood is ever going to come? Why should I believe that the time is near?" My question is, why should we believe that the time of Christ is near? Thank you for listening. I hope that you were encouraged and maybe heard something that you hadn't heard before, or maybe you heard something that you had forgotten. Please support us at Topside Church of God. And if you've enjoyed this, please let your friends know. Thank you, and God bless you.